Good. All right, what's up, guys? Thanks for coming in. We're gonna do a little seminar. I think it's gonna help everybody just when you guys are doing your basic Muay Thai sparring. The idea is when you're doing your Muay Thai sparring, one of the most important things is that you keep your partner safe and that you have fun. Does that make sense? The way that you don't have fun is by people getting hurt, people getting mad, having ego battles. The way that people won't stay safe is people get injured. So there's a couple ways that you can avoid that that we're going to talk about a little bit. But I want to talk a little bit, a couple of you guys who want to fight, want to be a competitive fighter. The idea is, being a competitive fighter, there's a way to become a champion. Does that make sense? Don't have to, you guys see my resume, it's always on the wall, all right? I defended my world title twice after winning it. I didn't get that called lucky, maybe the first time, maybe the second time, but the idea is I was doing something that much better than everybody who wanted that title. At the end of the day, at the level I was at, I was doing it that much better. Does that make sense? So what made it better? I know what made it better. It was my work ethic on top of my attitude. Does that make sense? My ability to get up every day and want to do it, and my attitude when I got there. That's it. So the idea is, by becoming a champion, consistency and discipline. You hear it in everything, right? It's the same thing. But the thing about being a world mixed martial arts champion is that the discipline it takes to get up 2 days a week to run, the discipline it takes to go to a place like Wild Card where Freddie Roach is the best in the world are, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, about 9 o'clock, what I never got from my fights was butterflies in my stomach. You want your training to be so hard that you're nervous on the way to the gym. If it's not, you're probably not going to have a successful MMA career. Does that make sense? You wake up in the morning and go, oh, little butterflies in my stomach. That feeling you don't really feel any other time. Thinking about training, you're probably ready to step in a steel cage or a ring with another human being, with one other person, go, I'm going to stop it so you don't kill him, but go ahead and try. That's what martial arts training is. So when we talk about becoming a champion or being a champion, there's obviously stages of your career. They have AAA, AA, right? In baseball, they have stuff like that. When you want to become a successful mixed martial arts champion, you got to understand the business side. A lot of people come in here, say the same thing. Oh yeah, I did street fights. I never been beaten in the street. I never did this. I know I'm a good fighter. I know I could be a UFC champion. If you don't enjoy the training, you won't enjoy it. I love fighting. It's the easiest part. One night I have to fight. Every other night I have to get up, or every other day I have to get up and train. Does that make sense? Everybody loves to fight. That's easy. When I look at you guys and say, do you love to train? Well, I don't know. Well, you would know if you wrestled in high school or did something like that. But the idea is we don't have a league that we grow up to. We want to become a mixed martial arts champion. You start out at the bottom everywhere. You try and get as much good sparring in with your training partners. You try and get some amateur fights, right? Then what do? You try and get a pro fight. What value as a champion do you have, or a non-champion do you have to any promoter? Your value is in how many tickets you can sell. That's the business. So when you get into a career or a job like mixed martial arts, the greatest, Dana White said it best. Mixed martial arts is not a career. It's an opportunity. Does that make sense? So no matter what you do in your mixed martial arts or martial arts career, the idea, it's temporary. It's an opportunity to do as much as you can. Some of those people, like Floyd Mayweather, some of the people that are at the top echelon, the 1%ers, make a career out of it, get a whiskey brand that they'll have forever. That's passive income. But everything you make from fighting, it's gone. Does that make sense? A lot of people spend it on stupid stuff. If you're able to do what? While you're fighting, build a brand. But the idea is, how do you build that brand? You start at the bottom. Who's gonna help you build that brand? What value do you have with no fights and no experience to a promoter? How many tickets can you sell? Hey Matthew, hey, I got this kid Matthew. He's great. He's tall. You should see him in the gym. He did karate since he was 2. The kid can kick a bottle off a 6-foot man's head. Can you get him a fight? I don't know. What does a promoter say? How many tickets can he sell? What does that matter? He's a great fighter. You should see. He came in the gym with his hands wrapped the first day. You didn't do that, but it has happened more than I want to admit. The idea is that promoters are going to say, how many tickets can he sell? There's your value for your first 5, 10, maybe 15 fights. Do you know who's great at selling tickets? Georges St. Pierre in his hometown. Do you know who else is great at selling tickets? Conor McGregor in his little town of Ireland. You know that makes sense? The promoter wants you to win. Look, I'm a good fighter. I'm a great fighter. One of the best. But at the end of the day, I got that belt because a lot of people wanted to see me. A lot of them were stars in Hollywood. That's what the promoters want. So when you're talking about becoming a mixed martial arts champion, training, all that, we'll get to that. We'll talk about sparring. But at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself as a brand, look at yourself as a business When you start, you're branding yourself with your friends and family. Then you're branding yourself with all your gym mates. Then you're branding yourself with a couple strangers that paid to come watch somebody else fight. And then eventually, you've got to get enough of those people that believe in you and believe in your brand that are going to buy enough tickets that promoter says, I want this guy to keep winning. All right? And that was how it is. The red corner, blue corner. Red corner is usually home team. Red corner usually comes out second. I put it in my fighter's contract to be in the red corner. Why? Most of the time, the guy who sells the most tickets in the red corner, it's the promoter's boy. There's 5 or 6, when I would go to shows, there's 5 or 6 Armenians in George's corner, you know they're most likely going to win. You go to the blue corner, fight after fight. Oh, I lost again. So that's when you really understand, like, look, you want to sell tickets for 2 reasons. 1, because you want to build that brand and get a unit and a group behind you. But 2, you want to get easy fights. They're like, oh, I don't want easy fights. Yes, you do. Until your value is in how you fight. And that's when people are paying pay-per-view and they don't know you. That's when it matters how you fight. Until then, it matters that you win, sell tickets, build your brand. A community like this, a small, tight-knit community. I was in Hollywood. I was in Los Angeles, one of the biggest cities. What I had was a bunch of actors and a bunch of students who believed in the TigerHeart brand and would show up and buy all my ringside and all my whatever. And the TFA was like, hey, 1 fight in, they asked me to fight for a title. Why? 1, they thought I would lose that first title fight and do what? Their boy named, I'm not going to say his name, but the idea, their boy was going to sell a whole bunch of more tickets. He lived in Long Beach. He wasn't an outsider. He wasn't from a small town, Ohio, like I was. So does that make sense? So when you're building your career, you want to be a mixed martial arts champion, think business-wise first, all right? It's an opportunity. You're not going to do this your whole life. You're going to learn a lot, but you're going to learn how to build the brand. I built the brand TigerHeart. That's my brand. And if you guys have seen me fight or know how I train, it speaks to my brand. Does that make sense? I fight like a tiger, and if anything you know I have is heart. Does that make sense? And it just fits. Does that make sense? So that's my brand. Branding's not about having a name, not just a clever, catchy name. For you amateurs, you don't get a name until you knock somebody out or fight pro. I've always had that rule. You have 2 ways to get a ring name from me. Some guys are you'll be Charlie for the rest of your career. So when you're talking about building a brand and being a mixed martial artist, some of the things people do wrong are go gym to gym. I lived in Los Angeles, California, had one of the largest MMA gyms in Los Angeles. You know, people walked into my door, hey, I'm from Utah. I'm gonna be the next big thing. How many tickets you sell? I don't know anybody here, but I could sell 50 tickets, give him 50 tickets. He comes back to the weigh-in with what? 48 tickets, because 2 of his training partners or clients bought tickets. You think that promoter is happy because he just got a whole bunch of tickets he thought was gonna be sold? No. You think that guy gets an easy win next time? No. Does that make sense? So there's that, because that's how you can make that mistake. The other mistake is going to a space or going to a gym where you just get lost in the mix. You need to have people around you that are going to support you. Going to any random gym and trying to get your work in, like George St. Pierre does, because George St. Pierre is a multi-time world champion who does gymnastics. Yeah, you need to do that when you get to that level, but not when you're an amateur, not when you're trying to build your brand. Your brand becomes what? Your training partners. You know what? As good as your next training partner, the people you have to have wake up in the morning and let you punch and kick them in the face, maybe kick them in the groin, maybe sweat in their eye. What else have you guys done to me in this room? All right? It takes a lot of me going, hey, I love you guys. I want to make you guys win. That doesn't happen when you're training at 3 or 4 gyms as an amateur. That doesn't happen when you're beating up your friends and training partners in here. The lion who plays best with the pride takes over the pride. That's just the way it works. The lion plays the best, gets the most allies, gets the best, is the one who takes out the alpha male at the end. He's the one that's strong enough, and the one that when he goes at it, because if you've watched this before, when you watch that pride, when you watch that transition, a lot of times those other lionesses and lions jump in. You made friends with everybody, all right, that lion's feeling good, I'm taking the alpha male out. Sometimes you forget he's the alpha male, has a bunch of friends. When that lion that's ready to take over the pride has made enough good friends in the pride that they all back off and go, yeah, you know, I like that guy, but he's got that little switch and I don't want to get in the way of that. That's what you're doing with your training partners. You're trying to tussle with them, make them have fun, but at the end of the day, becoming that alpha male means becoming that higher level mixed martial artist. When I say that, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. When you get in that cage and you're in here, guys are going point sparring, whatever, you forget that it's a very emotional battle. I'm looking at the way his pupil and his eyes change. I'm looking at him squinting. I'm looking at everything here because I know how to fight body. I'm trying to fight a person. So the idea is, you want to become a mixed martial artist and you're in here, part of that brand is having people in here that you can trade emotions with and let it go. And there's no ego. Every gym that has no ego on the way in, on the door, they have an ego problem there. You don't have to post it. Does that make sense? So the idea behind building your brand around your training camp, around your training partners, is what makes mixed martial arts different than any other art in the world, any other sport. Football, you get traded, cool, I'll go run into that guy, cool, okay, cool, he's a lineman, I know him, I'll run into him. No, Mike, I'm gonna have to go spar with Mike. I'm not gonna go over around the corner and be comfortable with Mike as I am with John, who I don't know. Does that make sense? So when you talk about becoming a world champion, it's not just about you. It's about who you bring on the journey with you. Teach once, learn twice. As I'm training for my world titles, or you guys are training to become a world title holder, you have to be teaching a lot of people. Why? Because you need training partners. You have to always find people that are going to challenge you. But I challenge you to find people that you can help and lead. Because when you pull people up, you have no choice but to get better, not only for yourself, but to show the people that you're pulling up, like, oh, I'm getting better too. Does that make sense? So that's the idea behind having that group. Becoming a world champion mixed martial artist, for me, wasn't about just showing up at the gym doing it. I had to take a path to get that title shot. I had to take a path to get a defense of that title. Does that make sense? So it's not about you. You're only as good as your training partner. So as far as the business goes, you got to sell tickets. How do you sell tickets? You either have a job where 150, you grew up in the area, or you have enough people who are emotionally invested to spend $40 or $50 to maybe hopefully watch you fight for a minute and a half. And that's what I ran into. I have some fights you can fit on Instagram. What does that mean? People paid $50 to come watch me fight for less than a minute. And you have to have people that invested in the whole process. And that's what it's about. It's about having those people. And if you're ever at a gym and they let you spar the first day or first week, expect that trainer to get laid on the first date. He's that kind of guy. I don't know who it is, where it is. When you walk in a gym where you're going to let somebody stranger punch my people in the face the first or second week they're there, it's a certain mentality where you miss the point. Does that make sense? Think of it like a pride. There's a new lion coming in. Okay, cool, we'll let him live. Well, I'm not gonna let him hang out and spar with my people, right? Roll around, anything could happen. So when you think about it like that, you think like, look, we could sit here and name how many different injuries we all have with each other. And that's the crazy thing. You have to be able to show up and go, hey, all right, we're gonna do it again today. Does that make sense? So growing that career, building that mixed martial arts or fight brand means what? Building the community around you. I built my community so strong as a mixed martial artist. I got people who will voluntarily wear my logo and name on their shirt and trust me to teach them how to kill because I built my brand so well. A lot of top level fighters don't build their brand that well because they just fight. They showed up at the gym, people want their autograph. Most people don't really care about my autograph, but they know when they're in the room with me, they got a lot of questions and they know I will answer them. That's the community I want. Not the community when I'm walking down the street like Connor's got a lot of money, a great community. Does that make sense? You can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. He's a successful mixed martial artist. So when you're thinking about doing this, think about that. You need to build your base, build your crew, build your community. The business side, sell lots of tickets, grow that. Does that make sense? Now, sparring. Let's talk a little about sparring, all right? Sparring is what differentiates fighters from the people that show up at the gym just to get in shape, have fun every week, right? That's what separates us from them. Now, there's that middle ground. There's that middle ground of people who like to they have a regular job and they like to spar and whatever. They're here long enough, they end up fighting for titles for us and still go that. But the idea is, what you guys have to think about is, what do I want next? Does that make sense? So where do I go? I want to spar. I'm in class, I'm doing this stuff here. Now, hey, Toby, can I spar? You got a mouthpiece? Okay, cool. That's after we get to know each other. That's after I know you show the basics. You want to spar, right? So finding kind of that transition, where you're at, you're kind of right there. You're definitely sparring. You're nowhere close because you don't want to fight. Does that make sense? But kind of when you get to that gym, understanding that, how do we keep that safe? How do we get the most out of our sparring? How do we stay safe? The idea is there's a certain rhythm that you want to keep. We like to start off when we talk about effective boxing sparring. It's not about going hard. It's about you go, I go, you go, I go, and we spar hard, or competitively, we both go. But you're not trying to injure your training partner. You're trying to hurt them. That makes sense? They can start tomorrow and train again. That's the difference. When you start with boxing sparring, it doesn't have to be you go, I go, let's go spar. What I suggest and what is most effective is doing things like jab for jab. Jab for jab, just jab for jab. That's the pawn in your chess match. Who plays chess? A couple of you guys, all right? The idea is how important is that front row. That's 8 of them. You have 8 of them. Most people don't think they're that important to the game of chess. They are everything. You have to move those pawns wide. Open up the board. You're trying to capture that king. You're up against a whole bunch of their troops. Some of their troops kind of stuck like a knight, maybe like a ship going so far. You got your bishop that go all the way far, maybe your air force. You got the army, which is like your rook, going in a straight line different ways. Then you got Space Force, which is your queen, which can hit you with lasers from everywhere. Yeah. And then you got the king hiding back there, Daddy Trump going, you got to get past them first. But what do you have in the front row? You got your Marines ready to die. We'll take 2 steps or 1 step at a time, but we're going forward. Does that make sense? If you get a Marine, a pawn, behind enemy lines, what happens? You capture your queen, like, we're going home. We're coming back. I'm taking Space Force back. Does that make sense? So the idea when you're talking about playing that chess match, that military mindset, condense it. The microcosm of fighting is your war, right? Tribal warfare. Take those war mentalities and put them to your fight. So when I get in here, first thing I need to do, hate to say it, send out a couple Marines. Take them out a little bit. Open up the board. Maybe take those men. I see some troops. We're going after them. That's it. That makes sense? But the idea is I need that pawn. So when you guys are doing your boxing sparring, you guys want to do, let's just do a bunch of combos. Master the jab. You have to. Everything else will come. Don't think. Jab. I say it all the time. I say it to my fighters. It makes sense after they get out of the ring. Don't stand there and think, what am I going to do next? Jab. Just jab. You're still moving. Sometimes they just jab their jab. Sometimes that's the best thing to do is just jab their jab. If you're punching something, they can't hit you with it, right? Pretty obvious. So we're talking about sparring, boxing sparring, getting the most from your sparring. Start with jab for jab. Then I like to move on to combo for combo. What is combo for combo? We like to go up to 5 strikes. I throw up to 5 strikes. It can be 5 jabs. It can be a number 5. It can be a hook, cross hook, anything. You know what's coming. In judo, we have what's called uke and tori, right? Uke and tori is basically the receiver and the thrower of the technique, all right? When you're uke, you are the receiver of the technique. If I'm tori, I'm throwing you. There's uke, I just threw uke, all right? When you're doing, if you get this judo mentality to your boxing sparring, it's a lot better. You cannot win combo for combo. You can't really win sparring. People who try to win their sparring, he hit me, I'm gonna hit him hard. No, you're not playing good with your brothers and sisters. That makes sense? You're going to lose training partners. You win sparring by landing shots. Does that make sense? That's how you win sparring. So when we're in here, we talk about the combo for combo, that uke tori mentality. I'm coming through. When he does his 5, I'm being a good training partner. I'm not trying to parry you're doing. I'm just staying in the pocket. When you do your combo for combo, it doesn't have to be competitive when you start, but you can do a competitive combo for combo once you get there. When we first start, we just throw a combo, we just stay in the pocket. Because what do you want to get great at? Staying calm, keeping your composure. If you're working your drill work when you start, keeping your composure and keeping your hands up, that's how you're going to get great. Not making your sparring really sporadic and anxious. Calm is a superpower. When I hear that cage door get locked, this calmness just comes over me. I don't know how to explain it. All right, I'm pretty calm, pretty laughing. I walk out to the cage, I'm pumped. That thing goes, and all of a sudden you see my fight. So I'm like, it's just, here we go. And it's a switch. When that switch is clicked, it's no emotion. That makes sense? So when we get in there, when we're in here with our combo for combo, you don't want to start being Mr. Floyd Mayweather. You want to get used to standing right in front of a human being going and barely moving. If all I have to do is this, that's all I do. If all I have to do is this, that's all I do. When you're doing your combo for combo, you're going up to 5 strikes, like with your jab for jab. After you get through that non-competitive, then we're going to do a competitive combo for combo. I'm going to block, you're going to block. I'm gonna block, you're gonna block. What are you trying to do? We call it building rapport. I cannot tell you how many times I've stopped a group of 15 or 20 people sparring in a gym. Full sparring. Stop. What's your partner's name? If you don't even know the name of the person you're trying to punch in the face, you're probably at a group you don't want to be along with. That makes sense? You want to know these people and have this relationship. Why? Because you're having a conversation, right? We're conversing. Nissan wants to converse with you. How do they do it? They take out an ad in a newspaper or a magazine. You're flipping through, you see it. You just had a conversation with Nissan, whether you like it or not. Playboy takes ads out there, so you probably seen, you guys are having a good conversation. All right? Sorry, you guys are still talking probably, judging by the hair. All right, or Playgirl, I'm not sure with that hair. All right? They probably have lots of Toyota ads in there. So, but that's the kind of conversation. That's the most extreme. Now I'm standing right here, looking at your right eye only, trying to see any kind of shift in your eyes, change in your pupil. Like, you can't see that. Oh yeah. When you're this close to a human, there's lights on you and you are aligned, you can see the change. You can see the fear in somebody. You need to learn how to see that. Does that make sense? You're conversing. You're having a conversation. What does that mean? You're conversing means when you throw one combo, I'm going to come back with another combo. We're going to go back. We're going to converse. Have a conversation. Let us know that we can trust each other during that first conversation. Once we trust each other, then we have a little more intense conversation. Hey, we have a good talk. Let's talk a little bit louder now. Let's really converse. Let's have a conversation with some passion. Does that make sense? So when you talk about these stages, when you're doing the Muay Thai, and you want to do a Muay Thai class, and you're just doing, okay, whatever, you're having fun, you're at a stage where you want to get fit. Now, you want to do combo for combo. It might be 2 weeks, it might be a month, it might be 2 months that you're only doing combo for combo. You're at a stage in your sparring career where you're doing what? You're learning how to stay calm, zero emotion. Now you go competitive. What are you adding? Passion. I want passion on your pads. I want passion on everything. But the idea is now it's a conversation. When you have a conversation with somebody, if somebody's trying to get your trust or get a point home and they look down, you don't trust them, right? That makes sense? When I'm conversing with you, I'm going to look right in your eye and make sure I see everything so I can converse, so I can react. Does that make sense? Floyd Mayweather, best in the world. Why is he the best? He's the best because he's the greatest at making people miss. Well, what does that mean? Everybody can hit what Floyd Mayweather is the best at. We all know this because he's a pretty boy. He still looks good after that many fights. He's the best at making people miss. Now, why does that make you the best? Because when people miss, I can count them. Make them chase you. They will follow. I say that all the time in here. Some of you guys hear it. If you're fighting somebody, fine, make them chase you. Ha! Don't just go in and go, okay, I'm going to flip the coin. Let's see who wins. I've been in those fights. They're not fun. All right? So the idea is where you're at in your sparring journey. It's a journey like anything else. You start with your classes. You get your drill work. You start doing your jab for jab. You start doing your combo for combo. Then you add that passion. Why is it passion? Because it's personal now. I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him hard once. And the way he reacts to me is important because if he gets mad, I'm probably not going to spar with him again. If he starts going hard, probably not going to spar with him again. So I don't want to. If he laughs, if I'm coaching, I'm going to say, don't laugh, it gives it away. I know it hurt you. If he's a training partner and he laughs, probably lets me know, okay, this guy understands and trusts me and knows that I'm not trying to injure him. I just want to hurt him a little bit. I want to knock him around. Do I say you guys be laughing in your sparring all the time? Maybe. I don't know. I know a group of people that laugh and joke around when they're sparring. They live in Thailand. All right? I trained at a Muay Thai camp, Sit Yatong, 2 months. These guys sparring. Hey, I didn't understand what they said, but they were laughing and giggling and kicking each other in the face the whole time. Boom, hey, good job. Whew. That's the kind of trust. If you can get that in your sparring partners, you're going to have success. And the people that need to train other gyms are tourists, I like to say, where they see the top guys, they go, oh, I need to get my wrestling here and my boxing here. And I'm like, you're not that good. When you start really refining your technique and you need to do the black belt or that, yeah, start training every gym once you have a career going. But the idea behind the sparring is that you want to gain the trust of people you're punching in the face. Do you want me to say it again? Because it's not normal in anywhere else. You got to gain the trust of the people you're going to wake up on a Monday and punch in the face by about 6. It's not easy, but it comes from taking your time going through the process to get to the point where you're ready to spar. That's how you spar effectively. You spar effectively by taking the time to go through the process on top of being with a good group and getting there. Now we've done our combo for combo competitively. Now what are we going to do? We're going to spar. We're going to go, okay, I'm going to try and punch you in the face. You're going to try and punch me in the face. Does that mean we go full throttle or try to give each other a bloody nose or try and knock each other out? No. That's what we're talking about. The essence of martial arts training is the ability to execute deadly and devastating techniques without hurting your training partner. Does that make sense? That's what we're doing. I'm in here practicing how to kill martial art on somebody I care about, making sure I don't kill them, obviously. That's what you want to get great at, not releasing. Why do I say that? As someone who has a lot of knockouts, the only fighter to not have knockouts is a professional Muay Thai fighter, professional mixed martial artist, and my professional boxing fight in the same year. I'm the only fighter ever to do that I know of. I looked it up a couple times. I keep looking, nobody's done it yet. Because they're the three, basically the hat trick of professional combat sports. I happen to knock somebody out in all 3 in 1 year because of what we call the death touch. My ability to hit people hard, right? No. My ability to stand there with a 12-year-old and a pro fighter and not ever hit them hard is how I got the ability to knock people out, right? It's counterintuitive, isn't it? I need to hit hard, I need to hit that bag, I need to spar hard, that's how I get better. That is not how you get better. Precision is everything. How many punches does it take to knock somebody out? 1. Like, oh, it was a 2-punch knockout. Yeah, but he didn't double punch him. Does that make sense? It takes 1. And when they come in there, it's the one they don't expect. In fighting, you want to create moments of vulnerability. You want to make your opponent vulnerable. How do you create moments of vulnerability? I'm in a street fight, somebody holds a gun, hey, ha! Look, cool, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. On that level, in your sparring, you want to create situations that make your training partner just make a mistake, and you capitalize on it. Going who can punch each other harder, falling against the wall, making it ugly. How do you think your fighting is going to be? It's going to be hard. So if you get there and your training's anxious and you're sparring like this, you think you're going to get in here like one of these top pros and go, no, it just doesn't all of a sudden transfer. When you guys start sparring, if you spar with the right group and you trust each other, you spar in a way that keeps everybody safe and a way that everybody gets really good. Because why? You're executing deadly and devastating technique and you can pull it back within half an inch at the last moment. As opposed to the guys who always throw hard and have no real control. They can hit hard, but the ability to come and touch within that much, that makes sense? With that much, and not knock somebody out, break their nose, but let them go, oof. Now, that comes from taking your time, going through the system, getting it done, and having a good group of people you trust. But there's a process to getting great, right? We start in the class, we get the basics down. Then we do a little combo, jab for jab. Then we do a little combo for combo, non-competitive. Then we do competitive combination for combination. Then we spar light. They said this, Vinny said this to me in KO Kickboxing in 2000. Spar often, spar intelligently, and it never left my brain. So if you guys who spar with me or have seen me spar, I spar often and I spar intelligently. What does intelligently mean? What does sparring intelligently mean? What it means is I'm gonna spar smart. I'm not gonna hurt my training partner, because that's dumb. I'm not gonna take too much damage, because that's dumb. Does that make sense? I'm gonna spar often. When I spar intelligently, I'm gonna spar smart. I'm gonna spar like I'm doing my chess match. Because when you get in the fight, I'll be honest, it's more of a game of checkers at the higher level. It's more of, we got in, all right, now let's just go. Let's just chime each other. But I want you to think sparring intelligently means playing that chess game. Sometimes I'm out there thinking, pawn. Oh, forget it. Queen! Out of nowhere. It's affectionately called the mic drop. All right? Cool. But the idea is you want to play that game. Spar often, spar intelligently. If you're hurt, you're sparring hard, what happens? The first part gets taken out because you're injured or don't have anybody to spar with. You can't spar intelligently if you can't spar at all. So sparring often Sparring intelligently go together, because if you're sparring intelligently, you're going to keep your partner safe and you're going to have somebody to spar with so you can keep sparring intelligently. Theme of the day, keep your training partner safe when you're sparring. Safe means no concussions. Safe means no bloody noses. Safe means not hurting their ego. Does that make sense? Sometimes when you get in here and you get blasted, once you go, okay, I got to make this guy feel bad. That's when you get into trouble sparring. When you get caught, internalize it. I got punched. Why did I do that? As opposed to, how do I get them back? You can't win sparring. You can't. As an individual. Two people together win sparring. We just got better, right? I always say about this, when we talk about sparring, we talk about how do we get better. You know who some of my best trainers were? My opponents. No, without a doubt, when I look back, the lessons I learned, some of the greatest teachers I had were my opponents. I learned a lot in here. I had fun sparring. What do I learn about the fight sparring? Not as much as I learned fighting, right? Some of my greatest teachers are the guys I tried to kill. All right? Not the people that are my friends I'm not trying to kill. That's how I get better. That makes sense? But at the end of the day, when you're in here, you have to learn to take it to that level sometimes. You're like, oh, I don't think this guy likes me. Does that make sense? You know how long it takes to build that kind of trust? To where you're going so hard that you're like, I know he's going hard. I know it's kind of for him, but I know he's not trying to kill me. I'm pretty sure, right? That's the position as a coach, as an MMA coach. I have to put you guys in that position. It's not fun for me. Sorry, don't even lie about that one. It's my job to make you guys go, I don't think I want to do this tomorrow. I think Toby was trying to kill me. I must have pissed him off. No. When I'm hitting, you guys are going harder as a trainer, as a 40-year-old who has no intention to fight again, and every punch or everything I do, I risk injury. I'm doing that because I want you guys to go, maybe I do or do not want this. There's only a certain level you can get to where you can do that. Me and Mike can do that. Me and Mike get in here, and sometimes open hands thing. We know we're showing up tomorrow. We know we trust each other. Does that make sense? So if there's a theme here, do you guys get the theme? The theme is spar often, spar intelligently. Does that make sense? Part of that is having a good team or a good crew that you can do that with. That's kind of the theme I'm getting to. So when you talk about sparring efficiently, it means be a good training partner first before you try and be a great fighter, and you're going to do great in your world title career or journey. Does that make sense? Some of the basics right there, the system about taking your time and getting great at sparring. Getting great at sparring means what? Getting great at converting.